First contact in the frost. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the ESS Horizon, watching the crystalline surface of Kepler 789 shimmer beneath them. The planet's perpetual winter had earned it the nickname Frost among the crew, but something about its endless fields of geometric ice formations suggested there was more to this world than met the eye. "Commander, we're picking up unusual energy signatures from Grid Sector 7. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. "They're unlike anything in our database." Sarah straightened her uniform, her breath creating a small cloud in the ship's carefully regulated but still chilly air. "Show me." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing pulsing patterns that seemed to dance across the screen. They weren't random. There was a distinctive rhythm to them, almost like a heartbeat, but with complexities that suggested intelligence rather than natural phenomena. "Prep the dropship," she ordered. "I want a ground team ready in 15 minutes. And Rodriguez, break out the new quantum resonance sensors. Something tells me we're going to need them." The descent through Frost's atmosphere was treacherous, ice crystals pelting the dropship's hull like tiny meteors. Sarah led her team of 4. Rodriguez handling sensors, Dr. Emily Wong, their xenobiologist, Security Chief James Martinez, and Dr. Kai Patel, their physicist. All veterans of multiple expeditions, but none of them had seen anything quite like this. They landed in a valley surrounded by towering crystal spires that seemed to grow from the ground like frozen trees. The temperature outside read -120 Celsius, their suits the only thing keeping them alive in the hostile environment. "Look at these formations," Dr. Wong marveled, her hand hovering over a particularly intricate crystal structure. "They're growing in perfect Fibonacci sequences. This can't be natural." Before Sarah could respond, the crystal nearest to them began to pulse with an inner light, matching the rhythm they detected from orbit. The light spread from one formation to another, creating a network of illuminated pathways through the crystal forest. "Everyone stay alert," Martins warned, his hand resting on his particle rifle. "We're not alone out here." The crystal directly in front of them began to change, its surface flowing like liquid mercury, while maintaining its crystalline properties. It was reshaping itself, growing, forming into something that looked almost humanoid. The transformation completed, revealing a being that stood roughly 2 meters tall. Its body was translucent, with internal structures that caught and reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. Where a human would have organs, this being had crystalline cores that pulsed with energy. "I am resonance through still air," the being spoke, its voice carrying through their suit radios despite there being no air to transmit sound. "We have been waiting for those who could hear our song." Sarah stepped forward, her training kicking in despite her amazement. "I'm Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Spaceship Horizon. We come in peace and friendship." The crystalline being's internal lights pulsed faster. "Peace and friendship are concepts we understand well, Commander. But we must ask for more than that. We require your help, and in return, we offer knowledge that could save your species." "Save us from what?" Sarah asked, though something in her gut told her she already knew the answer. "From those who seek to silence all songs in the universe. They are coming, Commander. The discordant approach your world, as they approached ours millennia ago. They consume all frequencies, all vibrations, all life. But together, perhaps we can finally stop them." Dr. Patel's instruments were going crazy. "Commander, the energy readings. This being is generating more power than our ship's reactor, but it's all being contained within some kind of quantum crystal matrix I've never seen before. Your understanding of energy is admirable but incomplete, resonance through still air observed. Just as your music has octaves, reality has layers of vibration. The discordants seek to flatten these layers, to reduce all existence to a single dead frequency. We learn to preserve our consciousness in crystal, to hide in the spaces between vibrations, but it was merely survival, not victory." Sarah felt the weight of the moment press down on her. First contact was one thing, but this This was something else entirely. Why us? Why humans? The crystalline being's light patterns shifted to something almost warm. Because you sing. Your species creates music, art, poetry. You understand the importance of harmony while celebrating discord in its proper place. And more importantly, you adapt. We have watched your kind reach for the stars despite all obstacles. You take what you learn and transform it into something new. We can teach you to use crystal matrices as we do, and you might discover applications we never imagined. A distant rumbling shook the ground, and new crystals began forming in the direction of the disturbance. Resonance through still air's light patterns became urgent. They have found us sooner than expected. The discordants send their scouts ahead, living nullifiers that seek out and destroy complex harmonic patterns. Your ship's arrival must have drawn their attention. Martinez raised his rifle as dark shapes began moving through the crystal forest. They seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating patches of absolute darkness that hurt the eyes to look at. Return to your ship, Resonance through still air commanded. I will show you how to adjust your sensors to track them, but know that this is only the beginning. The main force follows, and when they arrive, they will not stop until every song in this galaxy is silenced. We're not leaving you here, Sarah declared, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. The crystalline being's form rippled with what might have been amusement. You misunderstand, Commander. I am not one being, but many. What you see is merely a focal point of our consciousness. We exist throughout these crystals, and we can transfer ourselves through properly attuned crystalline structures. If you would help us, take this. A small crystal detached itself from the being's form and floated towards Sarah. She caught it carefully, feeling a slight vibration through her gloves. This contains a fraction of our consciousness and knowledge. It will show you how to begin preparing your world. Now go. The nullifiers cannot be fought with your current weapons, and we cannot maintain this form while defending against them. The dark shapes were getting closer, and everywhere they passed, the beautiful crystal formations grew dim and lifeless. Sarah made her decision. Back to the ship, double time. Dr. Patel, Dr. Wong, I want you studying that crystal the moment we're aboard. Rodriguez, prepare a warning buoy with everything we've recorded. If these discordant are really heading to Earth, the Council needs to know immediately. As they ran back to their dropship, Sarah glanced over her shoulder. Resonance through still air had dissolved back into the crystal forest, but now all the formations were pulsing with light, creating interference patterns that seemed to confuse and slow the approaching darkness. The dropship lifted off just as the first nullifier reached their former position. Through the viewport, Sarah watched the crystal forest come alive with light, putting on a display of defiance against the encroaching void. But her mind was already racing ahead to the challenges that awaited them. They had to prepare Earth for what was coming, had to find a way to merge human ingenuity with crystal technology in time to face the discordant threat. As they docked with the horizon, Sarah clutched the crystal that held their allies' knowledge. Its soft vibration seemed to match her own racing heartbeat, and she could have sworn she heard the faintest melody coming from within it, a song of hope, of resistance, and of the harmony that might save them all. Plot a course for Earth, she ordered as soon as they reached the bridge. Maximum speed. And get me a priority channel to the Council. I need to make them understand that everything's about to change. The ESS Horizon turned away from the crystalline world of frost, carrying with it humanity's first allies in what would become known as the Resonance War. As they jumped to FTL, Sarah felt the crystal pulse once more, and this time she was certain. It was singing to her, teaching her the first notes of a song that would echo across the galaxy. The Resonance War. The Earth Defense Council chamber had never been so quiet. The crystal from frost floated above the center table, projecting images of the discordant's destruction across countless worlds. 3 months had passed since the ESS Horizon's return, but Sarah Chen still felt the same urgency she'd experienced on that frozen planet. The crystalline entities weren't exaggerating. Dr. Patel addressed the council, his normally steady voice tight with concern. We've confirmed their warnings. Long-range sensors have detected void zones approaching our solar system, regions where all electromagnetic radiation simply stops. The discordant are coming. Sarah stepped forward. We have 8 months before they reach Earth. The crystal beings, the harmonious, as they call themselves, have shared technology that could help us fight back, but implementing it will require a complete reorganization of our defense systems. Admiral Jackson leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the crystal's glow. You're suggesting we bet humanity's survival on alien technology we barely understand? No, Sarah corrected. I'm suggesting we combine their knowledge with human innovation. The harmonious survived the discordant by hiding. We're proposing to fight. Dr. Wong activated a holographic display showing the first prototype of their new defense system. We've already successfully grown crystal matrices in our labs. When properly attuned, they can channel and amplify energy in ways our current technology can't match. But more importantly, they can maintain coherent patterns even when exposed to the discordant's nullifying field. The images shifted to show test results. Waves of darkness washing against a crystalline barrier, trying to suppress all energy and motion, but failing to penetrate. The harmonious never weaponized their crystals because it went against their nature, Sarah continued. But they understand why we must. They're helping us adapt their technology for defense. Council Member Chen, no relation to Sarah, raised her hand. And what of the crystal consciousness itself? Can we trust it? Sarah touched the small crystal she now wore as a pendant. Like many of the project leaders, she carried a fragment of the harmonious consciousness with her. They've proven themselves repeatedly over the past 3 months. Without their guidance, we wouldn't have detected the discordant until it was too late. The council chambers erupted in urgent discussions. Sarah used the moment to check her tablet. Reports were coming in from defense installations worldwide. Crystal growth chambers were operating at full capacity, producing the matrices needed for the new weapon systems. In orbit, the fleet was being retrofitted with crystalline cores. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. We need to accelerate production, she announced, silencing the room. And we need to begin the resonance training program immediately. That caused an even bigger stir. The program had been controversial since its proposal. It would link human consciousness directly with the crystalline matrices, creating warriors who could manipulate energy fields through thought alone. The medical risks, someone began, are acceptable compared to extinction. Sarah cut in. I've undergone the procedure myself. The integration is safe when done correctly, and it multiplies our defensive capabilities exponentially. To demonstrate, she reached out to her pendant. The crystal responded instantly, creating a miniature energy field that hummed with perfect harmony. The display wasn't just for show, it represented humanity's best hope for survival. I have thousands of volunteers ready to begin training, she continued. Every day we wait is a day lost in preparing Earth's defense. Admiral Jackson stood slowly. As head of Earth's military forces, his word carried enormous weight. Commander Chen's leadership during the Frost discovery has been exemplary. If she believes this is our best course of action, she has my support. One by one, the council members nodded their agreement. Sarah felt a wave of relief, followed immediately by the crushing weight of responsibility. They had so much work to do. The next few months passed in a blur of activity. Crystal integration centers were established on every continent. The harmonious consciousness shared more of their knowledge, teaching humans to grow and shape the living crystals into forms they had never imagined. Sarah split her time between overseeing the defense preparations and training new crystal-integrated soldiers. The process of joining with the crystals was different for each person. Some took to it naturally, their minds adapting quickly to the new way of perceiving energy and vibration. Others struggled, requiring more time to achieve harmony with their crystalline partners. But they all learned. They had to. The first real test came 6 months into their preparations. A discordant scout vessel penetrated the outer system's detection grid. Sarah led the response team herself, commanding the newly retrofitted destroyer ESS Defiant. Multiple void signatures detected, Rodriguez reported from his station. He transferred to the Defiant specifically to serve with Sarah again. They're trying to mask their approach, but the crystal sensors are tracking them clearly. Sarah stood on the bridge, feeling the ship's crystalline heart beating in harmony with her own enhanced consciousness. Around her, her crew, all crystal integrated, maintained a perfect resonance that powered their new weapon systems. "Show them what we've learned," she ordered. The Defiant's crystal matrix came alive, channeling energy in ways that would have been impossible months ago. Beams of coherent light, maintained by crystalline matrices that prevented the discordant's nullifying field from dispersing them, lanced out into space. The void signatures scattered, clearly surprised by the attack. One of them vanished completely, destroyed or driven off. They couldn't be sure. The others retreated quickly, leaving behind only trace elements of their negative energy field. "Analysis confirms direct hits," Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. "The crystalline weapons worked exactly as designed. We can hurt them." Sarah allowed herself a small smile, but she knew this was just the beginning. They'll adapt, and they'll report back to their main fleet. "We've shown our hand, but we've also proven that humanity won't be easy prey." She turned to address her bridge crew. "The real war hasn't even started yet, but today we proved something vital. We proved that the Harmonious were right to trust in humanity's ability to turn their defensive technology into something that could finally challenge the discordant." The ship's crystal heart pulsed in agreement, its song merging with the rhythms of human technology and determination. They had 2 months left before the main discordant fleet arrived. 2 months to perfect their defenses, to train more crystal-integrated soldiers, to prepare for a war unlike any humanity had ever faced. Sarah touched her crystal pendant, feeling the familiar resonance of the harmonious consciousness within. "We'll be ready," she promised, both to her crew and to the allies who had given them this chance. "When they come, they'll find out exactly what happens when you threaten both humanity and the very music of the universe itself." The Defiant turned back toward Earth, its crystal matrix humming with power. In its wake, the void left by the discordant scouts slowly filled with starlight once more, like silence giving way to song. Symphony of survival. They came like a shadow across the stars, a vast fleet of void ships that consumed light itself. Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of the ESS Defiant as the long-range crystal sensors displayed the approaching discordant armada. The main fleet had arrived ahead of schedule, crossing the orbit of Mars with inexorable purpose. "Final count confirms over 300 void signatures," Rodriguez reported, his hands dancing across his crystalline interface. "They're moving in a resonance-dampening formation we haven't seen before." Sarah felt her integrated crystal pulse in response to the threat. Around her, the bridge crew's own crystals harmonized, strengthening their shared connection to the ship's systems. They trained for this, but seeing the actual scale of the discordant force made all their preparations feel suddenly inadequate. "Status of the Earth defense grid," she demanded. Dr. Wang's voice came through the comm system from her position at Crystal Control Planet side. "Crystal arrays are at full power. All major population centers are shielded, and our orbital platforms are synchronized." "But Sarah," she hesitated, "the amount of negative energy they're generating. It's off the charts." "They mean to do more than just silence Earth." The harmonious consciousness spoke through Sarah's crystal, its musical tones carrying an edge of worry. "They intend to create a permanent void zone, a dead space from which no vibration can ever emerge again." Sarah squared her shoulders. Humanity had spent the last 2 months preparing for this moment, developing strategies that merged human tactical thinking with crystalline technology in ways neither species had imagined possible. Now it was time to put it all to the test. "Battle stations," she ordered. "Signal the fleet to implement Formation Omega and activate the resonance web." The resonance web was humanity's greatest innovation, a network of crystalline satellites that could channel and amplify the combined energy of Earth's defenders. As the system powered up, Sarah could feel the harmonic connections strengthening between ships, between crews, between the very crystals themselves. The discordant fleet entered firing range, their void weapons reaching out to consume everything in their path. But this time, humanity was ready. All ships, commence Operation Symphony, Sarah commanded. The human fleet moved in perfect coordination, their crystalline cores pulsing in harmony. Energy beams lanced out, maintained by the crystal matrices, cutting through the discordance nullifying fields. The void ships recoiled, clearly surprised by the effectiveness of the attack. But the discordant were ancient enemies, and they adapted quickly. Their formation shifted, creating interference patterns that began to disrupt the human fleet's resonance. "They're targeting our harmonic frequencies," Rodriguez warned. Attempting to compensate, Sarah closed her eyes, reaching out through her crystal to the ship's systems. She could feel the discordance attack, not just through the sensors, but as a wrongness in the very fabric of reality, a cancellation of the frequencies that made up the universe's background symphony. Then she felt something else, a pattern in the void, a rhythm to the enemy's attacks that seemed almost musical. "Dr. Patel," she called to the physicist monitoring the resonance web from his laboratory. "Are you seeing this? The discordant aren't just generating random interference. There's a structure to their void fields." "Confirmed," Patel replied, excitement breaking through his professional tone. "It's like they're conducting an anti-symphony, using negative frequencies to cancel out positive ones. But if that's true, then we can countercompose," Sarah finished. The idea crystallized in her mind, a fusion of human musical theory and crystalline energy manipulation. "All ships, reconfigure your crystal matrices to match my harmonics. We're going to give them a concert they'll never forget." The human fleet's energy emissions shifted, no longer trying to simply overpower the discordant void fields. Instead, they began weaving complex patterns of resonance, creating a masterpiece of light and energy that flowed through the resonance web. Each ship, each crew member, each crystal became part of a greater symphony. The effect was immediate. Where the human fleet's energy met the discordant void, instead of being canceled out, it created new harmonies that the enemy couldn't nullify. Their precise formation began to break apart as the unexpected frequencies disrupted their own resonance patterns. "It's working," Rodriguez shouted. "Their void fields are destabilizing." Sarah pressed the advantage. "All ships, push forward. Don't let them reorganize." The battle became a dance of light and shadow, with human ships weaving between enemy formations, their crystalline weapons singing with energy. The discordant tried to adapt, but every time they established a new nullification pattern, the human fleet would shift their harmonics, staying one step ahead. The harmonious consciousness within Sarah's crystal vibrated with joy and amazement. "In all our centuries hiding from them, we never imagined. You've turned their own methods against them." But the battle was far from over. Even as the human fleet pressed their advantage, the discordant launched a desperate counterstrike. A massive void pulse erupted from their flagship, larger than anything their sensors had detected before. "Brace for impact," Sarah ordered, but she knew their standard defenses wouldn't be enough. Acting on instinct, she reached out through the resonance web, connecting not just with her own crew, but with every crystal-integrated human in the fleet. What happened next would be debated and studied for years to come. The combined consciousness of humanity, filtered through their crystalline partners, created a harmonic resonance that no single species could have achieved alone. A wall of pure energy formed between Earth and the void pulse, not fighting against it, but accepting it, channeling it, transforming it. The void pulse hit the harmonic barrier and shattered, its negative energy dispersed and converted into a burst of light that illuminated the solar system like a newborn star. Multiple discordant signatures vanishing, Rodriguez reported, his voice full of disbelief. They're retreating." Sarah watched as the void ships broke formation, scattering in all directions. They had won this battle, but she knew the war was far from over. The discordant would return, better prepared for humanity's innovations. But they would find humanity better prepared as well. This battle had proven that the combination of human creativity and crystalline technology could achieve the impossible. They had taken the harmonious defensive techniques and transformed them into something new, something that could not just resist the void, but push it back. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "The first wave has been repelled. And tell them." She smiled, feeling the harmony of crystal and human consciousness stinging through her veins. "Tell them to keep the composers busy. We're going to need some new material for the next movement of this symphony." As the fleet regrouped, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if the very fabric of space itself was celebrating their victory. The universe's song continued, and humanity had proven themselves worthy performers in its greatest concert. Harmonic Revolution. 3 days after humanity's first victory against the discordant, Sarah Chen stood in a secret facility deep beneath the Antarctic ice. The chamber walls were lined with growing crystal matrices, each one pulsing with a different frequency. At the center stood their latest creation, a fusion of human quantum computing and crystalline consciousness that they called the harmonic core. The discordant retreat wasn't just tactical, Dr. Paddle explained to the assembled team. They were scared. For the first time in their existence, they encountered something they couldn't simply silence. Dr. Wong nodded, her hands moving through the holographic display of battle data. "The way we transformed their void pulse, it shouldn't have been possible. Even the harmonious thought it couldn't be done." The crystal around Sarah's neck hummed with agreement. The harmonious consciousness had been almost giddy with excitement since the battle, flooding their human partners with new ideas and possibilities they had never considered during their millennia of hiding. "We're not just defending anymore," Sarah declared. "It's time to take the fight to them. Show me what you've developed." The harmonic core activated, projecting a detailed map of nearby space. Hundreds of points of light represented known discordant positions, their void signatures tracked by the new crystal sensor network humanity had deployed. "We've identified their primary staging area." Rodriguez pointed to a cluster of void signatures near the Kuiper belt. "They're regrouping, probably trying to understand how we countered their attack. But more importantly, we've discovered something about their fundamental nature." Dr. Petal took over, his expression animated. "The discordant aren't just beings that create void zones. They're living nullification fields, quantum entities that exist by canceling out other forms of energy. But here's the breakthrough. They have to maintain their own internal harmony to do it." Sarah leaned forward, understanding dawning. "That's why our counter-symphony worked. We weren't just fighting their void fields. We were disrupting their very existence," Wong finished. "And with the harmonic core, we can do much more than that." The next 12 hours were a blur of preparation. The core's computations had revealed patterns in space-time itself, harmonics that the discordant used to travel and communicate. With this knowledge, humanity could do more than just react to their attacks. Sarah stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiant once more, but the ship had been transformed. The crystalline technology that had saved Earth was now integrated into every system, every bulkhead, even the very air recyclers. The ship wasn't just powered by harmony, it was harmony made manifest. "All ships report ready," Rodriguez announced. The fleet had grown, with vessels from every nation on Earth, now equipped with crystal tech. "The harmonic core's calculations are complete. We can initiate the jump on your command." Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the resonance of her crew, her ship, and the very space around them. "Begin Operation Counterpoint." The fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their crystalline cores pulsing together. Space itself seemed to sing as they activated their new drive systems, riding the quantum harmonics that the discordant had thought were theirs alone. They emerged from the jump in perfect formation, surrounding the enemy staging area. The discordant ships reacted with visible panic, their void fields fluctuating erratically. "All ships, commence Phase 1. Sarah ordered. "Let's show them what human creativity can really do." The battle that followed would rewrite the rules of space warfare. Human ships moved through space in ways that defied conventional physics, using crystalline technology to surf the quantum harmonics. Each vessel became part of a greater symphony, their attacks coordinated not just by strategy, but by the very music of reality itself. The discordant fought back desperately, launching void pulses that could have swallowed entire planets. But humanity had learned their weaknesses. Each attack was met with a counter-harmony, turning their own nullification fields against them. "Their formation is breaking," Rodriguez reported. "The void signatures are becoming unstable." Sarah watched as the enemy fleet began to disintegrate, their carefully maintained harmonic existence disrupted by the humans' attacks. But something wasn't right. The void signatures weren't just scattering, they were converging, drawing together into a single massive point of darkness. "All ships, fall back," she ordered, but it was too late. The darkness exploded outward, not as a weapon but as a message. Images flooded through the crystal networks, carrying with them a revelation that shook Sarah to her core. The discordant were singing. Not with sound, not with light, but with the very absence of these things. Their void fields formed patterns that were hauntingly beautiful in their emptiness. It was a song of fear, of desperation, and of something else, a loneliness that stretched back to the beginning of their existence. "They're trying to communicate," the harmonious consciousness realized. After all these eons of conflict, Sarah made a decision that would change the course of the war. "All ships, reconfigure your crystal matrices. Don't attack, harmonize." The human fleet's energy emissions shifted, no longer seeking to disrupt but to understand. Their crystalline cores reached out, finding frequencies that could bridge the gap between presence and absence, between symphony and silence. For the first time in history, three species, human, harmonious, and discordant, found a way to share their songs. The void signatures stabilized, no longer threatening but curious. The discordant's message became clearer. They had sought to silence the universe not out of malice, but out of a fundamental inability to understand harmonies different from their own. "They're asking for our help," Sarah announced to her stunned crew. "They want to learn how to exist alongside other frequencies without having to nullify them. They want what we achieved with the harmonious, a way to blend different forms of existence into something greater than the sum of its parts." The crystalline technology that humanity had developed to fight the discordant could be adapted to help them instead. The same principles that allowed humans to transform void pulses could be used to create spaces where all three species could coexist. As the fleet maintained their harmonic bridge with the former enemy, Sarah felt a new kind of music emerging, a symphony that encompassed both sound and silence, presence and void, all working together in ways that none of them had imagined possible. The war wasn't over, but it had transformed into something else entirely. Humanity had done more than just survive or win. They had opened the door to a new era of cooperation between fundamentally different forms of existence. "Send word to Earth," Sarah ordered. "Tell them to start adapting the harmonic core. We're going to need it for something far more challenging than warfare. We're going to use it to teach the universe how to sing together." The final frequency. 1 year after the Great Battle in the Kuiper Belt, the Sol system had become unrecognizable. Where once there were empty spaces between planets, now vast crystalline structures floated in precisely calculated orbits. These weren't weapons or defenses, but bridges, harmonic resonators that allowed three fundamentally different forms of existence to interact and thrive together. Sarah Chen stood at the heart of the greatest of these structures, a massive installation called the Convergence. Around her, representatives of all three species gathered for what would be the most ambitious experiment in the history of known space. "The calculations are final," Dr. Patil announced, his voice carrying through both traditional communications and crystal resonance. "The harmonic core has confirmed that full synchronization is possible." The chamber they occupied was unlike anything that had existed before. 1/3 of it hummed with crystalline energy, where the harmonious gathered. Another third pulsed with void energies that allowed the discordant to maintain their existence, and the final third was adapted for human life. Yet all three sections existed in perfect balance, each supporting the others. "We've come so far," Sarah mused, touching the crystal that still hung around her neck. Its song had grown more complex over the past year, incorporating elements of both harmony and void. A year ago, we were preparing for the extinction of all life as we knew it. And now we prepare to expand life's very definition, responded the discordant representative, its void field forming patterns that the humans had learned to interpret as speech. The being's name translated roughly to silence. That learns, and it had been among the first of its kind to seek understanding rather than nullification. The harmonious representative, still known as resonance through still air, pulsed with anticipation. What humanity has achieved in 1 year surpasses what we imagined possible in millennia. You've taught us that harmony isn't about maintaining a single perfect frequency. It's about finding ways for different frequencies to coexist and complement each other. Dr. Wong approached, carrying readings from the latest sensors they'd developed. Devices that could simultaneously measure presence and absence, harmony and void. "The convergence is ready. All systems are showing green across all three spectral ranges." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. What they were about to attempt would either herald a new age of cooperation, or, well, the calculations suggested the worst that could happen was failure, not catastrophe. That itself was a testament to how far they'd come in understanding the interaction of their different forms of existence. "Begin the convergence sequence," she ordered. The chamber's lighting shifted as power began to flow through systems that had taken a year to perfect. The harmonic core, now expanded far beyond its original design, coordinated the energies of all three species. Crystalline resonance met void fields met human technology in carefully controlled patterns. Phase 1 complete, Rodriguez reported from his station. Harmonic boundaries are stable. Beginning Phase 2, energy integration. This was the crucial step. Until now, the three species had learned to coexist by carefully separating their different forms of energy. What they were attempting today would blend them together, creating something entirely new. The discordant representative moved closer to the boundary of its void field. "We who once sought to silence all frequencies now add our own to this symphony. The void between notes is as important as the notes themselves. This is what you have taught us." Resonance through still air's crystalline form sparkled with complex patterns. "And we who hid from the void now understand that true harmony requires the full spectrum of existence, from the highest resonance to the deepest silence." Sarah felt the energies building around them as the integration continued. Her crystal interface showed her things that should have been impossible, void fields that carried harmony, crystalline structures that channeled nullification energy without being destroyed, human consciousness bridging gaps that had seemed infinite. Phase 3 initiating, Rodriguez announced. Quantum harmonic convergence in 3, 2, 1. The universe changed. Later, witnesses would struggle to describe exactly what happened in that moment. The closest anyone came was to compare it to a symphony where every instrument was playing a different song, and yet somehow it all came together into something more beautiful than any single melody could achieve. The barriers between the three sections of the chamber dissolved, not violently but gracefully, like ice melting into water. Where there had been sharp divisions between crystal and void and normal space, now there was a gradient of existence, each form flowing into the others. Sarah found herself standing in space that was simultaneously filled with crystalline resonance and void energy, yet she felt no discomfort. Through her crystal interface, she could sense the harmonious and discordant representatives experiencing similar revelations, the ability to exist in spaces they had once thought hostile to their very nature. "Full convergence achieved," Dr. Puddle reported, his voice full of wonder. "All readings are. They're perfect. We've done it. We've actually done it." The convergence hummed with new energy, not the pure harmonies of the crystalline, not the nullifying fields of the discordant, not the technological emissions of humanity, but something that encompassed and transcended all three. It was proof that different forms of existence could do more than just coexist. They could combine into something greater than anyone had imagined possible. "Send the signal," Sarah ordered. "Let everyone know. The experiment worked. The barriers are coming down." Across the solar system, other convergent structures began activating, creating spaces where all three species could truly interact. The void fields that had once threatened to silence all life now helped maintain the delicate balance of energies. Crystalline harmonies that had hidden from the void now helped channel and direct it. And human innovation continued to find new ways to bring it all together. "What happens now?" "Silence," that Learns asked, its void patterns forming what Sarah had learned to recognize as an expression of curiosity. She smiled, looking out at the space where three forms of existence had become something new. Now we explore. Together. There's an entire universe out there, and for the first time, we can experience it with all frequencies, all harmonies, all forms of existence working as one." A new song, Resonance Through Still Air, chimed, composed by all, performed by all. The convergence pulsed with power, human determination, crystalline harmony, and void energy, all working in perfect synchronization. It was more than a symbol of cooperation between species. It was proof that the universe had infinite songs to sing, if only you were willing to learn how to listen to them all. As Sarah looked out at the transformed solar system, she felt her crystal pulse with a new frequency, one that contained elements of all three species. It was no longer just a tool or an interface. It had become a physical representation of what humanity had achieved. The ability to take seemingly incompatible forces and forge them into something new and wonderful. "Send word to the exploration fleets," she ordered. "Tell them to begin implementing the convergence protocols in every system they visit. The universe is about to become a much more interesting place." The stars seemed to shine brighter, their light passing through spaces where void and crystal and human innovation danced together in endless possibility. The war that had threatened to end everything had instead opened the door to everything, to a future where harmony meant not the dominance of one song, but the eternal dance of all songs, playing together in an infinite cosmic symphony.